Hey guys, what's going on? This again is probably going to be very, very podcasty. I am going to be showing the text image of what I'm going to be saying, and in the beginning, it'll be a little bit of video. But for the most part, it's just going to be me talking about Rush Royale news. And I didn't even want to do this because most of the time, whenever they drop this on Discord, they usually talk about like the things that we don't care about. This is going to release at the end of March, which is pretty soon, actually. And they usually talk about the things that we don't care about, like, oh, this is going to be our change to Rush for Glory. And then 3 days will go by and, oh, this will be our technical changes for the graphic improvement. And then 4 days will go by and then they just talk about all the things that we don't care about. Because the most of the time we care about the new legendary unit, or the new unit that's going to happen, which is this guy, which is Screamer. The talent changes, which are going, or the talent additions, which are going to be Alchemist and Grindstone here. And then the balance changes. And I wasn't going to talk about this. I was just going to wait for all of it to drop. And technically, all of this might age poorly anyway, because everything that I say, we might go in game and then all of a sudden it's much better than it reads, because that's a big thing. It's something can read really well, like, oh, a Reaper is going to summon monsters to your opponent's side of the field. And it's like you're thinking like hordes and hordes of monsters, but then maybe the proc chance is really bad. So then it's just like one, like 2 every 30 seconds, like, and then it just reads really cool, but then like in game, it might be really bad because of the chance of when it happens or how it happens. So with that being said, everything that I'm going to talk about in this video might age very poorly, but I want to talk about it anyway, because I want to talk about Inquisitor Shield. But before we get to Inquisitor Shield, let's talk about a couple of other things. So, in the video, I'm going, the video that they've made, this video right here, they do Grindstone first, so I'm just going to talk about Grindstone first. Grindstone is not good. And my problem with Grindstone is that as soon as I get rid of like all of my open tabs here we go. My problem with Grindstone is that it has a fixed amount of damage. The meta that we're in right now is damage has to increase over the course of the game. At max, Grindstone, as it currently is, because Grindstone used to give you crit chance, and then they decided to change it to where it just gives you flat damage. At max, Grindstone gives you 469 damage at base. And then at max, it gives you something around, what is that, 2,000 damage. And that's to single target damage. Single target, meaning like Blade Dancer, Boreas, but Inquisitor would get something, multiple target damage, which is the 322 plus the 93, which is significantly less. Because you're supposed to use this for single target damage. There's a talent that mitigates the multiple targets, but even that I don't think really necessarily matters. Because if you were to max this out, if you were to level 7 it in game, this is the flat damage that you're getting. It's not terrible. It's an amount of damage, but it's also not infinite damage. And by infinite damage, I mean like when you use Blooming Dashblade Dancer and you keep switching it, you can keep switching them infinitely. And even though it gives you less of a percentage boost late game, it's still giving you a percentage boost infinitely. As you go through the game, as you progress through and the monsters get more and more health, you are matching, or theoretically matching, with what's happening over the course of a game. Inquisitor does the exact same thing. When you use Inquisitor, when you're sucking up other Inquisitors, if you're using Dark Inquisitor, it is gaining you a boost over the course of the game. Light Inquisitor, the reason why it's good, Every time you kill a boss, you're gaining more and more a percentage boost. For the most part, in this infinite damage meta that we exist in, that is the way to beat other decks that cannot do that. Grindstone is not going to help you do that. Grindstone has a fixed amount of damage that it can do. And then once you find yourself in a place in the game where the monsters scale beyond that, you just die. Because once it's maxed out, once you have max damage, and the monsters get beyond that max damage, then there's nothing else to do. The level 9 talent allows you to send fire sparks flying at monsters, causing additional damage. I have to believe that damage isn't going to be that significant. What's funny is I remember when thinking about like my Blade Dancer deck from a long time ago, and when talents started getting released, I was like, wouldn't that be crazy if Knight Statue became like an actual knight and started attacking things? Like, what if that was the talent? And they decided to do that with Grindstone, which I think is really funny. But having said that, I don't think that the amount that your Grindstone building is going to do, it's not going to, be a significant amount of damage. But having just thought about that and saying it out loud for right now, it does help you, because when you have Grindstone in your deck, you probably have Dryad and Scrapper in your deck. And sometimes you could find yourself dying because if you have like Grindstone, Dryad in your opening, and you merge the two like Grindstones and get a level 2 Grindstone, sometimes you could just die. You could just die because you have nothing. This will prevent you from theoretically dying in your opening. I think that's actually kind of okay. Maybe it won't like help you late game, but in the early game, you won't just automatically die. So I think that's a good change. Level 11, increase the number of fire sparks or remove the damage reduction penalty when an adjacent unit deals area damage. I think, having said that about the damage, I don't think that the damage is going to be significant. Removing the damage reduction penalty just so that you can use it on a damaging thing, I don't think that's how you use Grindstone. I think you use Grindstone in the way that it's intended, where you use it for single target things like a Boreas. You make those things better, at which point increasing the number of fire sparks would probably be the better option there. Level 13 unlocks a new mode. Now the Grindstone is able to overheat. In overheated mode, not only the Grindstone changes visually, but its damage is also increased. When it says that its damage is also increased, I have to believe that this just means that the damage that the Grindstone is dealing is increased. Which, again, these are very strange talents. It's like they're trying to make the Grindstone an attacking unit, and it just does the same thing that it always does, as opposed to, gaining charges so that it becomes better over the course of the game, which would be the better way of doing this in the current meta that we're in. But I guess, for early game players, this is all fine. With the last talent, the Grindstone increases its critical damage chance. So it's giving you a crit chance as well as a damage boost. And I think that's obviously where it's going to shine. But again, I think that it's just going to be good for early players. So right there, you can see it like shooting the flames. There, it's getting charges. And that's when it overheats. And then you can also stack the flames. I'm just going to rewind this. The rewind on this is terrible. Oh, here we go. That's actually easier. So right there, you can see it shooting fire. When you merge near it, it gains charges, at which point it has the ability to overheat. And then this is the crit chance buff. I think it's going to be okay. Like, both of these guys, the thing with, like, common and uncommon and or common and rare, when those get talents, they're never game changing. And when you start getting legendaries and when you start building legendary decks and you start going into your late game, and you're not just like a new player, unless the talent is game breaking, like a sharpshooter, like sharpshooter works no matter the stun shot on sharpshooter works whether you're in the early game or in the late game because it does the same thing. It's like increasing priestess damage with like bolstered faith, or trying to make an attacking unit with sisters in faith or power of light. It's not going to do anything for you. It does what it's supposed to do a little bit better, but once you start going into like legendary games and, you know, once you start gaining just better usages of obtaining mana, once you start being able to kill more things to go into the late game, you don't need to give yourself early game mana. Whereas early game mana, when you don't have the ability, when your units don't have the ability to kill things early game, and getting that early game mana when you're in the early game, when you start off with a new account, is a really good talent. But once you start getting into the late game where you can start going into triple bosses, for example, once you know that you can get there just with your base damage attack on your attacking units, you don't really need plus 30 mana. You know, that's not going to do that much for you. What I'm trying to say is whenever units get talents that are common and rare, they don't necessarily game break you in the late game. They usually end up being like really good if you just started your account. But if you're beyond just starting your account, I don't think either of these units are going to do anything for you. So with that being said, talents for Alchemist, I'll go through these really quick. Level 9 allows you to brew elixirs that speed up allied units or stun enemy units. I think stunning enemy units is always a good thing. I think that is a good talent to have. There's an idea that you might be able to build like a robot. I tried to build this one time. It was like a robot sharpshooter. I think I was running Boreas clock, and I was trying to do that where you keep stunning and slowing them down. Because I think that is a universal ability that I think works. So that might be the thing to have, because I think stunning your enemy units, it's always a good thing. With each brewed elixir, alchemists increases their own attack speed and defense, or their own attack speed and damage. Alchemist was never known as a damage unit. It's okay, but I don't think that is going to sway you one way or the other, and you're probably going to use stunning enemy units. Level 11 increases the number of elixirs brewed by alchemists. I'm not sure, based on the video, how they brew potions. Rush Royale is now obsessed with numbers and having a number count. So you'll see in the video that I think it just sits as they sit on the field. Over time, they just brew another elixir. And once they hit a specific, once they hit a specific threshold, a thing happens. Level 13 gives the alchemist the knowledge of summoning homunculi or golems, which makes them better at fighting monsters. So in the video, the homunculi, I believe, kill the monsters on your field, but the golem acts as both a trainer and a demonologist, which is insane. The last talent, I'm not even sure what it does. It just makes it's one of those, it just makes it better. But what I'm really excited about to see in game is how the golem works. Like if the functionality of the golem really works how I think it works. Where you get a trainer that stops monsters on your field and then sends it over and is like a demonologist. Or like a Mari. because that would be really cool. So in the beginning, you'll see it like it says 567, and I think it's just sitting on the field. That's the stun. This is the homunculi, and it's like presumably gonna attack like things. So that's the trainer, and then it sends it over, and it acts like a demonologist. The share the power, I don't know. Part of me thinks that maybe the reason why it's gaining the stacks. I can't. The this thing is terrible. Like, I can't just like click and drag this, and I don't know why. Like, see that the 567, I don't feel like it's doing anything. When it merges, I think that's when it summons in things, because you'll see a merge right there, and then a thing happens. So you have to merge two alchemists. That was another merge, and it gave the other alchemists on the field a potion. But at the same time, in that first one, I don't think anything. I don't think anything happened, and everything just got something. Or maybe it's just every time you merge things, every time you merge alchemists. At which point, if that's how it works, if you have to merge things to get potions, I don't know if it's good. Like, if it just has the ability to just sit on the field and the thing happens, I think it's good. If you have to constantly merge things like a robot for things to happen, that has a shelf life. Like, you can't just keep merging to make things happen. I don't think that's a good. If that's how it works, because they never tell you everything about the talent or the functionality of the mechanic. So I think we're just gonna have to wait. I think Alchemist is more interesting than Grindstone. I don't think Grindstone is gonna be game breaking, even though it probably should be. But like I said, flat damage that doesn't increase is not good. It might be good for new players, but it's not good late game. So originally, I didn't even want to talk about like Alchemist and Grindstone, because that would have just been its own separate video. But then they decided to drop all of the balance changes, and these are some spicy balance changes. Cultist was terrible. They added all the talents to Cultist, and it was terrible. So they decided to increase all of the numbers. Minimum initial damage from 295 to 334. Increase max initial damage from 785 to 1021. Harbinger of Evil, increased damage per soul 1% to 2%. Harbinger of the Abyss reduces the required number of souls to summon a monster from 8 to 6. Great Ritual, increased soul gain chance from 15% to 25%. Increase Flames of the Abyss, increase armor reduction 25% to 40%, and the damage interval from 0.4 to 0.2. With the introduction of new mechanics and talents, the cultist began to appear more often among the players, but his stats are not high enough because the complexity of collecting a soul and the vulnerability on the board do not allow the unit to fully open up. With the change, we are improving the starting parameters and simplifying the collection of souls for the possibility of using talents. I think it just increasing the damage of cultists will help it. I don't know if it makes it better, because what you're doing in a cultist deck is very. It all seems very like detrimental. Like if you get warlocked and they kill like a centerpiece and you have to start again, you just die. You just immediately die and you can't recover. Like, it is just a very detrimental deck to play. I think the damage will help it in the early game, but I don't think that even increasing literally everything is going to help it late game. But I guess we'll see. Enchant Sword, reduce the number of sword required to summon an Ancient Sword from 10 to 8. Nobody used Ancient Sword. And so I don't know. Approving Look reduces the attack speed from 20% to 10%. That's pretty significant. A lot of people were using Sword for the Approving Look. If you can't remember, Approving Look is the second talent. Once a thing, or I'm sorry, it's the third talent. Jesus. Once a thing gets 10 boosts, that unit gets a 20% increase in speed, and now it's a 10% speed. To get to 10 is pretty difficult in and of itself. For just a 10% boost, that makes it significantly worse. Because that was one of the main usages for having Enchant Sword. Because you're also not getting a boost as you get as you increase the numbers. You either have it or you don't. So for example, if you have 3 stacks on it, if you have 3 like blue stacks on your unit, it's not giving you it's not going to give you a 3% speed boost. It has no speed boost, and it just has the damage boost. And it doesn't work until you get the 10. And now it's giving you literal 10. Or it's giving you 10%. Growing Supremacy, Ancient Sword gains 50% increased bonuses. That's another Ancient Sword side talent. We're buffing unit talents related to damage. Try out new decks and combinations. Stop using Approving Look. That's basically what they're trying to say. They're like, start using Ancient Sword. We made it easier. Stop using the other side that you know is much better. I don't know. It's fine. I think like the reducing Approving Look to 10% is it's very significant. Like, you can't understate that significance, because trying to get to 10, like most people would play this obviously in Inquisitor, and it's much easier to get 10 stacks on a singular Inquisitor. But even with that being said, it's still kind of hard. If you're trying to use this with like a Blade Dancer deck or a deck that has multiple creatures, trying to get 10 on everything for just a 10% boost, I don't know if that's great. And that's a third talent. You're using a third talent for that. That's gonna change a lot of decks. Inquisitor. Let's talk about Inquisitor. Reduce damage increase limit from 900 to 800%. Stun no longer prevents bosses from using abilities. Fuck yeah. I never realized that Hammer of Faith, when it stuns things, acted also like a Bombardier. I never realized that it was that good. Jesus Christ. To not have to run a Bombardier, and so, to where, like, if you had a Max Inquisitor, stunning a boss, or having a boss come out, and you being able to stun it, so that you can deal damage quicker, or so you can deal damage and kill it before it even gets the ability to use the ability, that's nutty. That's absolutely insane. I didn't even realize that was even happening, and I'm glad that it's not happening anymore. So now they have the ability to get Warlocked and to get, what's it called? Anything that, Bedlammed. They can now get Bedlammed if they can't kill the thing fast enough. Shield of Faith, complete mechanic change. The knight appears on the field with a shield that protects each from one negative effect. If there are no other Inquisitors on the field, then the knight restores her shield after 3.5 seconds. I don't think you understand how good that is. A complete mechanic change. I'll read that again. Knight appears on the field with a shield that protects each from one negative effect. If there are no other Inquisitors on the field, it restores her shield after 3.5 seconds. That's huge. And I think that I'm not going to say that people are going to stop using Knight of Inquisitor and just go for Light Inquisitor, but that is a huge change. At the moment, the talent of the Knight of Light and the Knight of Darkness are used in approximately the same way and have a similar win rate. However, the Knight of Darkness has an advantage due to constant protection from all negative effects. The change to Hammer of Faith nerfs the overall power of both talents, while the change to the Shield of Faith will require you to be more careful when dealing damage with Knight of Darkness and will create more dangerous situations when facing aggressive decks. We will continue to monitor her performance and, if necessary, take further measures to buff or weaken individual mechanics of this unit. I think this is going to completely change Knight of Darkness. I think Knight of Darkness is going to be much, much worse, which needed to happen because it is the best card in the game. But yeah, like I think that's going to be huge. Demonologist reduces increase in mana gain from monsters from 30% to 10%. Under certain conditions, in certain decks, the talent brought an excess amount of mana to its owner, resulting in talent bias in one direction. With this change, we expect both talent trees to be equally popular. I haven't seen Demonologist in a while, so I'm just going to blow past this one. Monk. Damage increase per intersection is now more significant, 100 to 150. Damage increase per intersection per merge rank is now less significant, from 75% to 37.5%. Blessing. Damage increase per power orb is now less significant, from 5% to 3%. Blessing is the one that everybody... Blessing? What's the one that everybody uses? The left side. Blessing. Blessing was the one that everybody uses anyway. Equilibrium... damage is now more significant from 2% to 3%. They're trying to make the other one better, and it's not better. Now summons a monk of a random merge rank from 1 to 3. Despite the legends of the Invincible Inquisitor, the strongest deck in the game do not contain this unit. Monk, Meteor, plus Minotaur are much more dangerous. Monk himself gets a huge stat boost with an increase in merge rank, and talents greatly strengthen him, including at the intersection. Because of this, the talent branches are chosen more frequently, and the win rate is significantly higher than with other units. We've buffed the unit's base stats and reduced the increase with merge rank to compensate for this skew. I've stated that Monk is really, really good. I didn't realize that they're saying that they think that it's the best deck in the game, but it's very good. And I think that this is going to make it worse, but I think it's still going to be really, really good after this. Rockfall damage interval increased from 0.5 to 0.8. The Minotaur is one of the strongest units in the game. His damage percentage increased so much that he's able to destroy a target at 50% health with just one rockfall. At the same time, the Meteor remains unchanged as a unit heavily dependent on the ability of the Minotaur, but we will continue to monitor the combination of units. I don't use Minotaur or Meteor, so again, I'm going to blow past this. Blade Dancer. This is nutty. They're actually making Blooming Dash better. I think Blooming Dash is great as it is right now, but so many people don't use Blade Dancer for Blooming Dash that they're like, you know what? We're going to make that one better. Damage increase after 30 flowers is now more significant from 0.4 to 0.6 on Floral Frenzy, which is a good change. Dance attack speed increase is now more significant from 180 to 220. Damage increase per flower is now more significant from 1 to 1.5. And then damage increase after 50 is now more significant from 0.35 to 0.5. Or 0.50. That is crazy. They're saying that Blade Dancer is not being used and is not as powerful as everything else. And I think it's great. So I'm very excited for all of that. Trapper. Reduce target slow limit from 45 to 30%. At a high level of development, this unit significantly affects the fight, allowing you to significantly increase the amount of damage dealt to monsters, as well as giving the player strong control. We've decided to nerf the Trapper slow to balance its stats in relation to its versatility. I thought that they were going to go much harder in nerfing Trapper. reducing the target slow limit from 45 to 30, I don't think that's that significant, because I also thought that they were going to decrease the amount of defense down. So I think that that's fine. Alchemist and Plague, their traps now deal venom damage, allowing for more effective combos with Earth Elemental. They're trying to make Earth Elemental a thing. I don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's going to be a thing. This is the change list. I like that Monk was like, it's better and it's worse, and the talents are better and the talents are worse. I like that the Inquisitor is just like, no. The Inquisitor is just like, it's much worse now. Demonologist is just worse. I can't believe they buffed Blade Dancer. I can't believe they buffed Blooming Dash Blade Dancer. I'm so excited for that. But that's everything. I think I'm going to make... There's a part of me that wants to make Screamer its own video, but I don't even know if that's completely necessary. But we'll see. What do you guys think?